Where are you at the moment, Jan? Jan, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Where are you at the moment?
In Brazil, in South Brazil.
Good. We have a number of CoFSA members in Brazil. Very enthusiastic about it.
Nice.
Okay. Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Welcome.
Hello.
To see on.
Hello, Claudia.
Yes.
Ciao.
So welcome to this in-depth session on Ecovillage design education. See some more people joining. So welcome to this 1 hour session in which we'll go deep into this curriculum, the Ecovillage Design Education program by GAIA Education. It's an opportunity to get to know more in depth this work. This is the first in-depth
Thomas, yeah.
Yeah. So as I was saying, this is the first in-depth session as part of our collective inquiry on cultivating conscious local communities and cultures for regeneration. So we had the launching session in April, and Jan was already there with us to share a little bit, but today we'll have an opportunity to go more in depth into their work. So this is part of our work at the Conscious Food Systems Alliance, convened by UNDP. As you know, we are a movement of consciousness practitioners and also food and agriculture practitioners that want to bring the inner dimension into our work. So we want to work on the inner capacities that we think are needed for the transformation of food systems. And we have launched this first collective inquiry, and we'll be launching also a new one in July on the subject of farmers' psychological resilience. So today we'll have a 1 hour. We have a 1 hour session with Jan from Teixeira from GAIA Education, who will guide us into a short grounding practice before sharing with us a presentation on this Ecovillage Design Education curriculum by GAIA Education. And then we'll have Sarah Keblatin, who is also been very much is part of our inner council or steering committee, let's say, in the Conscious Food Systems Alliance. I've been doing a lot of work with also the Ecovillage community in Asia and the Pacific, and that will tell her about our experience in facilitating this curriculum. And we should have also Joshua Kokanko, Director of Better World Cameroon, and founder also of an Ecovillage, Bafoot in Cameroon, who will share also with us shortly his experience on this with this curriculum. And then we'll have a time for Q&A before finalizing this session. So now I will pass it over to Jan to start with. Jan Teixeira is an e-learning associate at GAIA Education, part of GAIA Education e-learning team. He's graduated in engineering. He has been exploring a holistic worldview in his life, as well as concept of sustainability and regeneration. Jan has experience supporting Ecovillage design education and educational projects, leading to an area of collaboration and transformation. So over to you, Jan, from Brazil.
Thank you, Thomas. Yeah, and to start, I'll start with the grounding. So I'll invite you to just find a comfortable position and we will go through a journey for a few minutes together. And as you find a comfortable position, I invite you to feel your body. Notice what is calling your attention. And if that's good for you, you can close your eyes and feel your breath. Just notice your breath, if it's fast or very slow. You don't need to change anything, just notice. And I'm going to invite you to a few visualizations together. And I want you to think of friends or like-minded people that you want to be with. Feel that energy of those people. It can be people actually that you don't know yet. I invite you to imagine that you are working together towards something and that you feel very connected to those people. All of us carry community living and deep connection with nature within us. We carry it from our ancestors, from the reality of being one with nature. And I invite you to imagine that you are on a fire pit. And that group of people that you just thought, they are with you. You are looking at the fire and connecting with it. And one of your friends is singing a beautiful song to the fire. It's a song that you always sing this song together. It's part of your culture. And you now start to look around and you notice a beautiful building where some people are prepping food. And you know that that food will be shared in a few minutes. The building is really integrated with nature. It feels that it's part of it. I invite you to save this image in your heart and slowly start coming back to your body, to your breath. Notice your breath again. If you change it. And notice your feet in the ground. Feel its roots connected to the ground. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes again. You're ready to start the journey. All right. It's a big pleasure to be here with everyone for the second time. And my name is Jan. I speak from South Brazil. I'm Brazilian. And I'm part of GAIA education team. So today I'll be presenting mostly about the EDE, as we call curriculum, which means the Ecovillage design education. So I'll ask Noemi to put up the slide as I start the presentation. So I'll just start quickly introducing a little bit of myself and how I connect with GAIA education in my history. As Thomas mentioned, I am graduated in engineering, transport engineering, and I was feeling, as I was going to graduate, I was going towards the end, I was really feeling kind of lost, kind of away from myself. And when I had my experience with an Ecovillage, was in that moment, and it was a really important and pivotal moment in my life, because I felt or I experienced what an holistic approach to education looks like, and I just felt like coming back home. You know, like I felt like, okay, I'm part of it. I feel like my body feels connected to it, you know, more than just my mind doing calculations or something, or, you know, that was a really transformative moment. And I think that is what happens in ED, actually. It brings people back to themselves and connect with new possibilities. So the ED curriculum has been developed for almost 20 years ago by a group of people that they are called GAIS, which means GAIA Education Educators for a Sustainable Earth. And it was a very experienced group of people that got together, people that were really experiencing and trying hard to find alternative ways of living, you know, like they noticed that something was wrong in the systems, in the main system, in the mainstream systems that we see. So they were trying out new stuff, and they came out with a very powerful curriculum and many ideas, as we will see in this presentation. One of the things that was really important was that they brought up a new dimension to sustainability. I mean, they were discussing that, I mean, around the world, lots of people were discussing about this, but this curriculum sort of brings to the paper, you know. And the first dimension is called worldview, because in the mainstream, when we talk about sustainability, they consider only 3 dimensions. And then that comes from 1997. UN said that when we talk about sustainability, we talk about ecology, we talk about economic and social aspects. But lots of people feel that something was missing. And we at GAIA Education call it the worldview, which is this 4th dimension. Some people in other places call the cultural dimension. And some people might even call the spiritual one, because it really connects with invisible realms, sometimes the rituals and the deeper layers of cultures that we don't know if we don't dig. And you can go to the next slide, maybe. Thanks. So this is what we call the 4D framework, and it's a very it's a short summary of what the EDE looks like. So those are the main topics that are covered in an EDE, and it's important that each EDE have moments, have a focus on each of the 4 dimensions. So, for example, the social one, it will connect with with education, with governance systems, and always trying to find ways that are connected to people's heart and in harmony with nature. I think that those are the main different things that the ED topics will try to raise. So earlier in the meditation, I tried to guide something that had a little bit of each of the 4 dimensions: social interactions, ways of providing, like the food that you are sharing, and a building that is connected to nature. So I was just trying to bring a little bit of how we feel after taking NED, but it's a very tiny portion because NED is almost overwhelming of information and experiences. And so we talk about a lot of finding different possibilities with the 4 dimension, and something that also has, but it's not here, is the design piece. So after going through the 4 dimensions, you will try to integrate everything, and that turns out to be like the holistic perspective that you will develop by integrating the 4 dimensions in whatever project that you decide to do. And we can see how that can be applied to multiple things. And we can see that the ED doesn't necessarily need to happen in an eco-village setting, for example, because we can apply those 4 dimensions on many different ways and many different projects and settings. You can go to the next slide. So how they happen? They are a very decentralized, they have a very decentralized design. And by that, I mean, GAIA Education has developed the whole curriculum, and it sort of organizes the information that comes out. It's like a hub, but it's the ones that offer the EDE, they have lots of autonomy. So what happens is that you can take 2 EDEs in 2 different places, and you can feel that you had completely different courses, because you will experience the curriculum by the lenses of your facilitators or the lenses of the place that you are. And that ties up with the second topic that I'm bringing here, which is localized and contextualized, which is a very important topic, because if we are going to talk about the worldview dimension and we want to deeply connect with land, that will change everywhere. You know, if you want to listen to traditional knowledge from different places, you will have a different learning from each place that you experience that. And so that is also part of the worldview, and it's a very important piece that you can experience in each ED. And so, like I just mentioned, the setting is usually at eco-villages and communities. It doesn't necessarily need to be. Sometimes we will see a few examples that are not, and that's okay. But I wanted to say that many times the EDs are a very core piece for those places, because it's like an opportunity to renew, you know, because they put on their education how they do things. So for example, what you can explore in certain ED about the economic dimension, in certain eco-village, you will understand all the process that they had to go through and how they, you know, financially survive. And that's also important for the community, because they elaborate on those things, you know, and get better and are able even to explain to other people what they do. Usually the courses are immersive, so they are very intense. I was just talking to Noemi. She has been to one recently, and it's just like, it feels that every time we take an ED, our life changes, you know, like coming back home is not the same thing. And so the EDs can take at least 1 month, but usually they take more. I've been to EDs that take 3 months, and usually you'll find EDs that take 2 months. And many times the people decide to stay in the place because they, you know, like feel so connected after that. So they spend more time volunteering at the place and learning more, or contributing after gaining so much. You know, it's part of the reciprocity that you also explore during the experience. And you can go to the next slide. So I wanted to share a little some recent cases with you. Those are not EDs that I've been part of, but I felt that they are relevant for this moment and for this space that I'm sharing. So you can go to the next. This is Farka Ecovillage in Palestine. And I wanted to share with you because Pedro, our co-CEO, he has been there really recently, 2 weeks ago, and he was really moved and sharing with us the power of, you know, like planting their own food as a way of protecting their land. You know, it's the way that they what's the word that I'm missing? They resist, that was the word. Because they're, for example, in this case, they're facing really challenging times as a community. And one of the ways that, you know, like they can be different, do different, is planting their own food. And they also have EDs. That's why I brought this example up. You can go to the next one. The Glarzag ED. Maybe some of you here have been to this one, because it's a very consistent ED that has been happening in Switzerland. Many people take at one time, like it's around 60, sometimes more. So it's a very big one. And as I was sharing, like you can have a different experience in each place. And for example, depending on the place, you will have a deeper knowledge on one of the dimensions. So my colleague Sylvia has been to this one, and she shared with me that the social dynamics, the social technologies studies, they are more, you go deeper on those aspects than in other places. Sylvia and I, my colleague, we have co-facilitated an ED in another eco-village in Canada. And that one, for example, it's very, the ecological one is very powerful because they have their own food systems, they have CSA. So it will depend, you know, like each experience will be very, very unique, and you will go deeper on some of the dimensions, even though you touch on the 4 dimensions. Anyway, you can go to the next one. This is the really recent one. It just finished 1 week ago, and I felt like bringing up because it's very new, the concept, and I imagine it has been very powerful for the people that took, because, you know, like, for example, they have this goal of empowering women and raise their awareness through the revision of the many challenges of our society, like white Western industrial growth society paradigms. So I can only imagine a group of women together and, you know, like studying those aspects connected to the 4 dimensions. Maybe later Noemi can share a little bit. Next one. And this one is a very unique, it happens here in Brazil, and it's a hybrid mode. I find very creative because people go and have a full week immersed about one special dimension, and then go back home and continue studying via Zoom, via online, and then go back the next month and study another dimension. And that is a process of 5 months total. And as you can see, like many people take, and it has transformed many people's lives. Like it really changes paradigms, you know, like we connect more with ourselves and have the opportunity of exploring the way that we think and our cultural constraints and so on. You can go to the next one. I just want to say that about becoming a certified trainer and how to run NED. So to apply to run NED, you must be a certified trainer. Not all the facilitators need to be a certified trainer, but at least the people holding the space, the main organizers, they need to be considered a certified trainer in order, you know, to be able to hold this space. So for you to become a certified trainer, you must have taken an NED as a participant, and also study one of our dimensions online, because we offer those 4 dimensions online as well. So at least one of them, the certified trainer needs to take. Usually it will be the one that is more aligned with the work that they want to continue doing. So for example, if I'm more connected to economic and I'm gonna teach that in my IDs, I might as well take the economic dimension online. And then the final thing is to participate in a training of trainers, just so you have the opportunity of going deeper in facilitation skills and things like that. And you can go to the next one. And I just wanted to share quickly a quick overview of the EDs that are happening this year. And you can find that on GAIA Education website. So we, as I just mentioned, the ED just finished. The Ciclo GAIA Viva here in Brazil is still happening. It started on January and will finish this month, June, this coming month. And there are a few more coming, as you can see, but you can go deeper by checking our website. And next. And now I just want to open this space for Sarah and maybe Joshua to share a little bit of their experiences, as they have helped in other EDs. And I think that those experiences can also help you to connect with what is the experience of taking the course.
Thank you very much, Jan. I will introduce indeed. We can start with Sarah, who has been also with us in the Conscious Food Systems Alliance very closely in our inner council. Sarah is an inclusive design strategist, passionate in weaving soil and soul work in transforming the narrative of disaster risk reduction into design for resilience and regeneration. So she has been working very closely with the global Ecovillage network in Asia and the Pacific, building on her background also in eco-psychology and transformative art making. Over to you, Sarah.
Hello. Thank you, Jan, and thank you, Thomas and Noemi and everyone in Konkanko for this space to share about our experience. Yeah, it's really meaningful because also that it's been work that I've been weaving for, it's been a way to frame my work for a while using the mandala. And I want to start first actually as an artist. I work with the mandala, not necessarily as an eco-village design tool, but I remember years ago when I was in a very critical turning point in my life. I was working with the arts and art therapy and working in conflict and peace building, interfaith dialogue. I noticed many religions use the circle as a way to remember and remind us of our wholeness and the cosmology, a circular cosmology. And I sought out this mission to I want to learn about the mandalas of the world in different cultures. And I actually came across Ecovillage design, I think mainly because of the word mandala. And then I work with rituals and community spaces, and the circle has always been a representation of that, remembering of the sacred and values. But I was also a development worker, worked in peace building, I work in humanitarian assistance, worked with ecological restoration. And so I noticed that as a way to engage people to design together, design as a tool to kind of rethink how we approach change making, because often when we are coming from developing solutions without a regenerative design, a holistic design, it's fragmented and it's not. And in my work in disasters and displacements, I work with conflict and climate displacement. I reflected on how we were responding to broken systems with broken solutions. The way to heal and transform is to holistic solutions. We cannot heal broken systems with broken solutions. And it led me to go into the Ecovillage movement, and because people actually live what they were educating, and eventually worked with the Global Ecovillage Network, supporting their platform for advocacy, especially in the UNFCCC, where we promoted the Ecovillage Development Program, and to show that it's possible to apply it in developments, in government agendas. And the power of the worldview, or at least in the Global Ecovillage Network tools that we use culture, because it's much easier for systems like governments and businesses to understand. The power of that is the innovation that the EDE offers, because there's so many solutions already being done. And without that core worldview or culture as the driving component of the design, it's the usual way we solve the challenge. And without that healing of the paradigm, which is the root, of the disconnect and the degeneration of our practices, that is where we want to address the root cause, the worldview, the mental models, and how people heal the ego to eco paradigm. And from there, the solutions arise. So the ecological, social, and economic solutions. I prepared some slides, but I understand we're not sharing slides. So I was hoping to show you some of examples where we shared, but I'm going to look at my slides while I'm speaking so I can follow what I'm telling. So this where I've applied some of these. So I want to share the difference between when I work with the Ecovillage design, it also helped me look into how may we bring into the communities without imposing to them, like, here is the Ecovillage design mandala, this is how we would design it. We started first with honoring their traditional knowledge. What is their worldview? How do they understand their reality and in the community? What is their traditional ecological knowledge? And from there, we draw about what is important to your community first, rather than saying this, we should start with all dimensions. Then we use the mandala to help validate, or also help fill in the gaps. And normally it's almost the same. We do this because we wanted, to honor the way that we don't want to come in as we're coming in as we have the solution, but rather to draw out that the communities already have their knowledge and systems in place, and that is the source of the design, the inspiration to design. So we've done this in camps and resettlements where I've worked in like an ISIS displaced camp, and we used the Ecovillage playing cards. After we did like a resilience mapping, I prepared a photo of how we did a mapping of resilience, like what are the people's dreams and hopes, and how did they want to design a livelihood and food project with permaculture. And then people drew in the middle, like how they did. I don't know. Can I just share my slides? Is it possible? So it's strange for me to look at you and this, or maybe.
If you like, Sarah, just to be careful about the
Yeah.
time, because we only had 5 minutes for each of
Right.
you.
Okay, so it's a bit hard to. I'm just looking at the screen and the Canva, but if that helps, I could just quickly show while talking. So we started first here with what is their vision and how they want, and then we shared the Ecovillage playing cards afterwards to share, okay, there could be more to, beyond just to how they would look into just food and livelihood, but it could be connected to restoring their ecosystem or work with the natural elements to build their homes. So this is an Islamic community displaced. We work with indigenous peoples. We started first with their vision and their dreams of their community for our disaster risk reduction plan, but then eventually came down to using, some tools to be more story-based in their planning that became a log frame. But we sourced that plan from their visions and their knowledge. I was going to show a video of how we blessed a 5-year development plan of indigenous peoples and the government that we designed for a year collaboratively on how we did transition to regenerative agriculture. And but maybe it's 1 minute video. I'll just share the video link later. And this is also where we're now working with traditional ecological knowledge in a landscape where we wanted to map out. We used the arts and culture to help them document their ancestral practices. And we also use EDE, and we made it more because we observed for a while that the curriculum was mostly like Western in practice, and there were several like Asian and African design, but we wanted to honor that there are a lot of regenerative practices in Asia and the Pacific, like the Buddhist economies or the Maori donuts economy, or like we wanted in the non-violent peace building movements in Sri Lanka, and we wanted to highlight that. So we ran a course called Region Nations for Asia and the Pacific for 2 cohorts, and we had, the first cohort had different teams and projects, and then I shared with you, we shared the Ecovillage development program at the UN at climate COPs for several COPs, and engage several governments to introduce and apply. And when I highlight this, because the IPCC report had a cover of Finhorn Ecovillage in the one before that came, the one last year. And it really showed, like Albert Bates, one of the elders of GEN, he really showed that the world needs most is ecological aware and socially innovative experimental communities that were cited in this report. So I want to show you and highlight to you that there's so much that this movement that applies this methodology that can really contribute to the climate agenda. And then now we're also working on scaling solutions in the landscape by really integrating the social, cultural, economic, and ecological design in scaling solutions in the landscape. And then now I'm also developing a community museum design where we wanted to use community mapping, story mapping, and a community museum design to map out the cultural, social, economic, and ecological places of value in a landscape. But what I wanted to highlight lastly is that our work starts first here with the local. This is the Global Ecovillage Network mandala. So it's adapted from the EDE because they're sister organizations. At the heart is whole systems design, where all of these for our winter woven by a design approach. But I also wanted to highlight that here we start first with this one, in that there are like working on the personal, because when people relate to the solution more from their own purpose and well-being and their leadership, and then how it benefits their community, and then from the planetary scale. So I think I would close with that, and because I think that's the core of my practice that I could contribute to this approach.
Thank you, Sarah, for sharing. How do you adapt that to the local context in Asia? We'll now hear 5 minutes from Joshua. I'd like to make sure we have some space for questions and answers. Kokanko Joshua is the director of Better World Cameroon and founder of Bafut Ecovillage in Cameroon. He has been with us in CoFSA very much for a long time, part of our inner council, and now bringing this African wisdom to connect the indigenous and the modern. And he has been facilitating some EDA course. So maybe Joshua, you can give us an idea about how do you adapt that to African context.
Yeah, I will start with the context, the concept of time from the African perspective. You see, I'm struggling with computer and technology, and it can take time. So I would request Naomi to signal me if I'm just talking my story and not able to track because my computer is not so agile. I will talk from the perspective of an African who is one of the first generation trained in Europe and developed a bioregional concept for Africa for the reasons that I'll explain in my talk and the challenges, and also the merits that GAIA education brought to the magic that happened in my community. So that magic was cross-culture, like having volunteers coming from the north and bringing tools from the north and actually co-creating from an African perspective. So it's a question of the tools that have been developed, and in our present context, it will be more that we are now in a transition from, I would say, colonized structures that were designed from somewhere to be implemented. And in my experience, we had a lot of trouble getting certified, even though I had been certified in Europe, to get a GAIA certification. Well, this is a thing that the indigenous people don't know, because when the tools are based on academic theory and Western certified, they cause a resistance, especially among the young people who have also done their own experimentation with indigenous knowledge and feel that they have the right tools, that instead of sharing, it's about just including people into a concept. This does not take away the merit of the work that has been done in designing things in a very structured way, which works very well in a Western mindset, but doesn't work so well in an oral tradition and language. Yeah. So through my experience, we noticed that we could actually, the merits now. What made us to succeed from 2012, when we started to design using the land, a plan that I designed in Germany in 2013, later, it was something that came from the people in participative planning. When we decided we were going to make an eco-village, we were not convinced that we had to make an eco-village. We were transitioning an existing village. So we couldn't make the same tools as those for the people who are creating an intentional, and depending on the people who, what intention they have, it doesn't match the ancestral handed down heritage of education, which in my case, I coined in another paradigm that worked the magic. So the volunteers were more, I think, efficient in co-creating with the people on the ground than the curriculums themselves. So when I then worked in the Council of Gen Africa to see how these were being applied in the rest of the eco-villages in Africa, I saw that the story was the same, just because of the way we understand from the both sides what GAIA means. From the perspective of indigenous communities in Africa, they believe GAIA is the supreme, informing us, requiring our listening, deep listening, and actually mimicking the thousands of years of cycles that have made life resilient for the Africans. Whereas these things do work because there is a concept of education in the West, which is about teaching. And in Africa, it's about embracing the baobab tree together, which means that it's sharing and not teaching. So the concept of certificates for the African men, they were just selling certificates to their elites to come and teach the Africans, hence the apathy. But on the whole, when we tried to do youth exchange, they created magic by easily translating the languages from their own peers and from their own hearts and on the land, and being informed by the land, working their story as it were, and finding harmony and amplification from the other systems that the linear system doesn't consider. So we then took permaculture to beyond zone 5, to the mystical part, which the indigenous hold so strongly and so highly.
Thank you.
So to win the hearts of the indigenous people, to feel that their voice is heard in the design and that they belong, through actually participating and not being taught and handed certificates. Sure. This doesn't work in our own case. But what we are saying today is that the systems journey that we are all in today is calling us to realize that the resilience, I take the case of Africa, that have gone through all the crises in the world you can imagine and are still going through a second colonization, but remain resistant. And the huge knowledge in this vast continent that often is ignored when we create a concept. So this dialogue is how we could make this also more effective. I know I didn't want to repeat the challenges that Sarah had mentioned because they are the same. So I think GAIA had come of age, the laws that govern the way. Okay.
If you agree, it would be great to have. We still have 10 minutes just for question and answers. So
okay, I'm ready to stop at any time.
Okay, thanks. I think you made a very clear point, echoing, what Sarah said about and that is built in a little bit in the fabric of the EDE's decentralization and placing, local traditional knowledge at the heart of it. Yeah. So because we only have 10 minutes left, I think it would be nice to see if some people have some questions on this GAIA education, Ecovillage design education program. Just to see if everything, Thomas, maybe you are unmuted. Is that you want to ask a question?
Yes, hello everybody.
Go ahead.
Hi, happy to see you all. I was wondering how we can apply these principles and ideas to cities, right? I mean, we talk eco-village design, but how could we do eco-city design? Ultimately, the population is in the big cities, and how can we make those more functional and more connected? I imagine it's hard, but I think we should be looking at that also.
Thank you. Maybe what I suggest that we take a few questions and have you know, Jan, Joshua, and Sarah then answering some of them. Who else like to ask a question? I see Sigrid maybe unmuted.
Hello, yes. So thank you for this presentation. We have had some EDE happening also in Oroville. How is this relate to CoFSA? How will CoFSA create a new curriculum together with
GAIA education? Well, that could be a possibility. Maybe if one focus more on food and or conscious food, we are open to that.
Because our question is, we have 24 organic farms, we have people coming there taking small courses, how we can create a bigger course, which will then be, you know, connecting to CoFSA, to ED, to different organizations. So
yeah,
my question in this is, you know, how we can, what do we have to offer to fit, you know?
Yeah, it will be on a needs base, and if you're, yeah, I mean, we are happy to support you if you want to offer something like that. Just moving on, next question, I see Catherine with the hand raised, and then I will pass it to Jan to start with. Catherine?
Thanks, Thomas. Thank you. I have a question around how GAIA and the Ecovillage design education program kind of democratizes participation. So how it is that you go about enabling participants who wouldn't necessarily be able to afford the fee that you advertise, because obviously it's very different for somebody in the global south to be paying that amount of money for somebody in, you know, he's based in a capital city in the global north. I was wondering if you kind of have a specific pricing model and how that works for the different people that might want to participate.
Thank you, Catherine. So let's hear from Jan and see if Joshua and Sarah wants to complete Jan's answer.
Thank you everyone for the questions. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Joshua. It was really good to listen to you as well. I will start from the end, Catherine, especially regarding the EDEs, the pricing. The GAIA education charge a small fee from the place that is running the EDE, and they do the whole decision making of how much it will cost and how they will manage any scholarships and how will that play out. For example, here in Brazil, we are Global South, and there are always connections, at least the ones I know, connection with projects, with people in vulnerable situations, that there are vacancies for those projects and things like that. So each place will try to find ways of giving back to community and opening spaces. For the online courses is different, then it's something that we manage, but it's a different thing. But we also have scholarship possibilities on the online realm. I just want to touch on the first question, how to bring to cities. It's an interesting question. It already happens, like some of the EDs, they happen in city settings. So some co-housing places, they hold EDs, and then, you know, like, even though we will be huge cities in the future, we already are, we need to go back to community. So even though you are in a huge city, you need to find your community and you need to start small and do things. It needs to be like small and happening in many times, you know, in many places. So there are EDEs in urban settings already. And there is also the movement called transition towns, if you might be interested on learning about them. It's really interesting. It's really connected to cities settings, and it's a regenerative project. I don't know if someone wants to.
Thank you,
add.
Jan. I don't know if Sarah or Joshua wants also to comment on that, or if we have other questions.
Yeah, for us, we primarily work, we have grant funding, and we mainly work with the communities and the stakeholders to make sure they are funded. And we normally don't run full EDEs, but we rather certify with GAIA education, so that our design is still like kind of the way we would adapt it to the development plan or design, but then the use of the some of the methodologies align with the certification process, so that way we can downscale. And I just added the cities part in the chat, so I won't take so much space, so hopefully that helps as well.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Jan. I've put in the chat, Sigrid, Sarah, you know, if we'll have a call for proposals for CoFSA, or if you have, you know, willingness to have an ED in Ecovillage related to CoFSA, maybe that would be a great proposal. We'll be launching soon. Malte, we have 2 minutes left.
Yeah, and I will be very short. This is a question to Jan and to Sarah. So a full-fledged EDE is 4 to 5 weeks, I understood. And Sarah, is it right that you rather pick elements of the EDE and to twin it with theory U and other elements, permaculture and so on, to apply it in communities? This is rather a question, is it, if I understood that well. So you have the full-fledged EDE and you have, let's say, you can mingle it together with other techniques. Is that true?
Yeah, that's what actually happens. So for example, you have a permaculture, a PDC, permaculture design course within an EDE. Many eco-villages do that, many places do that. And many other concepts like theory U, like you mentioned, dragon dreaming and things like that.
For us, we designed it the way, because an in-person it takes so long, not everyone is available, especially when you work with community leaders or farmers, so they're not always like, you can't keep them in one place for a long time. And we also try to also work with change makers, and that it's a learning journey design, so it's not it's action learning, so they learn the process, the tools, and then they apply, and then reflect, and then learn again, and then apply. So it's more of like that design, so it's more applied as we go along.
Thank you, Jan. Sarah, we are over. That was an in-depth session on the Ecovillage design education. Just to go, it's part of our collective inquiry that we launched in April on cultivating conscious local communities and cultures for regeneration. We'll follow up with other in-depth sessions to look at other approaches, methodologies. The next one will be in June 29th. Today, I think, was from World Vision. I've seen someone, I think, from World Vision. They have this empowered worldview curriculum that we'll hear about, and we'll have also another session scheduled for July with the Holistic Education Program of Opportunity International. So we'll have this 1-hour session for you to get to know these methodologies and see, you know, how they can be useful for your work. I hope you like it. It was great to look deeply together into this, you know, how we can do this kind of cultural change we want to see happening. And thanks a lot for the speakers, for GAIA Education, and we look forward to developing collaboration. Thank you all. Have a great day, evening, wherever you are, and see you soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.
Yeah, thank you so much. That was great. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.